Greg Farley, aka Pegasus from the Wise Fire Alliance. Make sure you jump ahead if you don't want to hear me talk forever. But I wanted to introduce a star chip system, and I wanted to talk about the zombie boy Eldlich. I wanted to talk about OTK potential and all the different divisions that a certain deck can have, whether that's attack, OTK potential, defend and grind, consistency, the ability for a deck to keep going and going and going and setting up easily, versatility, and last but not least, recovery. All of these different divisions help to make a deck what it is. And I wanted to implement that system on my channel and the Wise Fire Alliance's channel to be able to further be able to talk about a certain deck and understand whether it's meta or not. I've mentioned it in a video before, but I wanted to talk about it again because I felt like it was really, really pertinent. So in this replay, this is actually me versus a friend playing. I'm playing Adamantia, and we had a really fun game. It was a really good game. But I wanted to break down both of the decks. So definitely where Eldlich struggles, Eldlich, whatever you want to say, however you say it. Where the deck struggles is if it falls behind. The deck is a control deck, and what I mean by control is it wants to basically strangle your opponent down to nothing, and where their resources and where they're top decking and where you stunt whatever they're trying to do and then go off from there. Obviously, in this replay, I actually sort of misplayed against my friend because I forgot what its defense was, even though I could have just looked in the graveyard. And the ability for the deck for the card to keep coming back into their hand repeatedly. I just didn't know whether to push or not, and I feel like I had game on board. But you have to be careful against this deck if you're playing against Eldlich, because it can come back with the traps, as you've seen, in literally one turn, with the ability to, in the end phase, float the traps into something else. Now, with that being said, I ended up actually winning this game just because you can just keep pushing and pushing. My friend knew that he could just scoop it up, and so we went on to game two. In game two, the deck does what it wants to do, with the hands being just solemn cards. He opens up anti-spell. He opens up the Conquistador card, which pops a card if you have the zombie guy face up on the field, as well as Sanguine or Red Splatter, whatever it's called in the OCG. The ability to special out of the deck, bring the card consistently out of your deck. Yes, consistent. And the Pay 800 card, which makes us all misclear, and being able to open certain things. All of these things definitely work, but where the deck is at its most powerful, in my opinion, is the ability to stop your opponent from doing what they want to do. The anti-spell basically locks me into not being able to play, and I just couldn't make it through the rest of his trap cards. And then the deck does what it does best, and that is come back, push again. And I probably misplayed right here because I forgot Gigantes is mandatory. And basically, I was screwed anyway because he would have just omni-negated with the Golden Castle Forever trap card, the counter trap, basically. Basically stunts everything that you're trying to do because it's an omni-negate. By tributing off Eldlich, it can stop anything I'm doing. In game three, I tried to do something just because Gamma was so crucial in this game, and actually stopped everything that I was trying to do. And from there, I pretty much lose this game, and that's where the difference in the game is. Now, in this other replay, if this is another friend of mine playing someone else, I wanted to talk about how the deck can set up. Now, this is just him experimenting with his build. Shout out to him, Nido King, get it? But this is versus Blue Eyes. Nobody's worried about Blue Eyes. Nobody's checking for Blue Eyes. But still, it's a deck that can give you at least a semi-understanding of what a deck can do and how good is a deck really. If it can't beat Blue Eyes, it can't compete. Unless you're playing Kaiba, shout out to Black Kaiba, then you just can't win it all. Now, with this deck, again, him being able to special summon himself, with the Midas touch, being able to send something to the grave, I feel like that's what they meant for the deck to do. Just the really cool part about this deck is the ability to just overlay into the train engine, which is just, I never saw it until it happened to me. And it's actually happened in testing a lot. In all the games I observed, it happens an awful lot. People think it won't come up, but it actually will. And it got stopped with impermanence in this game. That gave him another turn, his opponent, which, he kind of tries to use with the Rhapsody card, being able to bring some cards back, dropping Levianeer, dropping Hope Harbinger. But then again, Eldlich can come right back, special himself, come out onto the field, and be 3,500. Now, Hope Harbinger trying to stop the attack obviously, but he's a 3,500, so he pulls the attack over to him and he still loses by 500. And then that's where the deck starts to win again. And he knew from there it only goes downhill because the trap cards start resolving and they start sticking more cards and the trap cards float into more traps. Just like Paleo, just a far more powerful and potent version on the offensive end at least. And then you're pretty much in trouble. In this game 3, it was pretty much the same kind of rocket-like setup. I mean, this is just Blue Eyes being Blue Eyes, trying to combo off with Seryuja, drop off a Levianeer eventually, try to do something with the Skuldred's effective special. There's just so many things, but Levianeer was the main focus, bringing back Redums bringing back something else. There's dropping Borrowland, which is a really interesting card in the deck, but you know, he starts off with Lava Golem. So the deck also doesn't care about its normal summon. And a deck that doesn't care about its normal summon and can still control you is a rather potent deck. And that's where I see the potential in this deck to be a real threat to the meta game. Obviously, with the way things are currently in the social climate where we can't actually go to locals and play, we can't go to events and play, we still want to give a deck its due. I do feel like this deck is a real contender. In this game, as you can see, he gets rid of the Lava Golem, then he goes on to overlay for the Dengursu, and also wanted to touch on this. Guys, they keep their attack boost even under skill drain. It's something that I did not know until it happened to me. That's not actually me in this particular game. But it did happen to me. Golden Eldlich, the Golden Lord. He has so many names. But yeah, his ability to keep his attack under a skill drain, I think that's absolutely bonkers. And then the Omni Negate still being in the back row, the Sanguine to be able to special something else out. That's what this deck wants to do. It wants to control you and basically strangle all your resources down to nothing, and then keep adding and adding and adding in the end phase with the Conquistador card, with all of the Golden Land cards, with all of the Elixir cards. They all float and keep carrying the potential of the deck forwards. When we go to the deck profile, this is really generic. Again, you can toss this straight out of the window, but I played 3 of the Lord, 3 Inspector Border. This is my build. 2 Called by the Graves, 3 of the Golden Eldorado card, Eldlandil, whatever they couldn't go into the copyright problem. The Awakening to be able to special out of the deck. The Quick Play being able to special out of the grave. The Conquistadors, the Anti-Spells. Anti-Spell is just, it could be any floodgate. It's really up to you. It could be more Solemn Strikes. Obviously, you don't have to play Duality. But the Counter Trap is the most powerful card about the deck besides the Golden Lord himself. I really feel like this deck is an authentic problem that you definitely want to prepare for. If you like control decks, if you like Guru, if you like Altergeist, most likely you're going to enjoy this deck. And I really think it's cool that finally, and I mean finally, they made a zombie deck with some control. Now, if you don't want to particularly play the control version, I think you kind of have to, because that's just what it inherently is. You can try the Mayakashis, as you see in the extra deck. You can try the Curry Bandit, as you also see in the extra deck. You can try out techs like Balderrock being in the deck, or Metal Foes Fusion also being pitched. So you ask yourself, most effective tactic available, is it meta? That's kind of up to the system that I had kind of thought of a while ago. I didn't really have a name for it, but you know, I'm Pegasus, so I got to come up with something. On its ability to OTK, its ability to attack, I gave it an 80 out of 100. So this is on a scale from 0 to 100. Its OTK potential is rather high, but it's not what the deck is built for. So I gave it an 80. The grind game, it can grind really, really well. However, if you do not have the Golden Lord, you cannot grind at all. Well, it just won't be very effective. If you do manage to grind with the deck with him on the field, you definitely have a far better chance. I think its consistency is also really high. So that's 3 categories where it's really high. Its ability to set up and do the same thing at the start of the game is very, very frequent due to the spells. Its versatility, this deck isn't trying to do anything but the same thing it's trying to do every game, which is trap, 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 and drop the Golden Lord. Last but not least, recovery. I think this deck shines in recovery. I think it could almost be 100 because that's what the deck does. The traps float into each other and he keeps coming back to your hand to be able to special summon himself or another zombie. That was a star chip system. I hope in some way this helps you to be able to understand the deck a little bit as you're going about building it. Obviously, again, we don't have any tournaments going on in real life, but we definitely got stuff where we can play online and still manage some kind of way to enjoy this fun game that we love. So is it meta? You got to ask yourself that, but I think it is. Till next time, I'm out. YG baby.